On Larry King Now, the one and only RuPaul.
You know, drag had always been political and antisocial and a social statement. It was like a big FU to society, especially for little gay boys who, were expected to behave a certain way. It was a way to say, you've told me not to be this way, well, I'm gonna be this way times 10.
Plus,
It feels so right for right now, especially there's so much divisiveness in the world today and so much, this is a place where people can come together and just feel good about themselves and get some takeaway on how to navigate their lives.
that's next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. I'm Michelle Visage, filling in for Larry today. And I'm so happy to welcome my dear friend RuPaul to the show. Ru has been the heart and soul of RuPaul's Drag Race since he created the show in 2009. And I am honored to be part of the cultural phenomenon, which has been nominated for 23 Emmy Awards and has won 9. In 2018, the show is the first to win both Outstanding Reality Series and Outstanding Host for a reality program in the same year. Yes! My friend is a busy man. In addition to our show, he's also hosting his daytime talk show on Fox called RuPaul, and he has lent his voice to the Hulu animated show The Bravest, which is currently streaming, well, on Hulu.
Yes.
Hey, Ruru.
Hi.
Let's start with the talk show.
Yeah, so much fun. And you're a part of that.
I am part of that,
Yeah?
yes. I am an official couch warmer. I'm very good at it.
You are good at it,
I
but
am
you're
very
also
good at
good
it.
at that part of the job, too. I mean, I've seen you interview people. You're so good. I mean, so many years in radio.
Yeah.
You are a natural at it.
Thank you, baby doll.
Yeah.
Well, the RuPaul talk show, it's on Fox. We had a 3-week test run, and it just feels so right.
It does feel right, and it feels so right for right now, especially there's so much divisiveness in the world today and so much, this is a place where people can come together and just feel good about themselves and get some takeaway on how to navigate their lives, from people who've done it.
And when you were pitching it, because this is kind of, we can go back to 1996 and 97 when you had your first talk show.
Which you were a part
Which I
of.
was a part of that too, on VH1.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like this is always where we were meant to go and land. And you're such a natural at it.
Thank you. It feels like a continuation of the same conversation. In fact, it's a continuation of the conversation I've had since childhood. As a kid, I always wanted to break the fourth wall, so to speak. I always felt like the little boy who fell to earth, and I wanted to say to the other people on the planet, are you kidding how weird all of this is? And no one would break character, until I went and found my tribe, you being one of those people. And so I want to continue talking about this illusion that we live in and how to navigate it and how to keep grounded in something that feels so odd. Life feels odd. Life is hard, it's odd, it's weird. So I want to hear from people who have not necessarily mastered it, but have learned how to navigate it.
What do you think your show is filling that has been missing in daytime television?
Well, it's what's been missing is our tribe, is the people who see that the emperor is not wearing any clothes and who could see beyond the facade of life. And, when I was a kid growing up, there were areas of that. Like, I grew up watching Monty Python's Flying Circus on PBS in the early 70s.
Brilliant.
So brilliant. And they got it. I thought, wow, there's my tribe. I need to go and find them. And I did.
In many different states.
In many different states.
Because you started out in San Diego.
Yeah.
Maybe it is now more, but when I think of it, I don't think of it as San Francisco.
Right.
I don't think of it as Atlanta.
Right.
I would imagine when you were growing up, it was kind of a small little, bubble almost.
It kind of still is. Now, obviously, it's a vacation place. It's a military place, but it is very conservative, Republican, and when I was growing up, it was super, super white, So I used to go up to the thrifty drugstore and read magazines, interview magazines about New York and Studio 54 and all that stuff, and I think I need to get there quick, fast, and in a hurry. And so I knew that I had to leave San Diego to find my tribe, which is what I did.
When you left San Diego, you went to Atlanta first.
Yeah, I was 15. I was not doing well in school, and my sister Renetta said, "Hey, we're moving to Atlanta," which is at that time was experiencing another boom. Atlanta has had several
Many
booms. Yes, several many booms. And this was in '76. We moved to Atlanta. I was 15, and I thrived there. Started my career.
It was almost as if, and I know you basically raised yourself, in a sense.
In a sense, yeah. In a sense, in that I was an oddball and I was an observer, and I know that I'm a seeker. So I read books, and I wanted, since I wasn't having that conversation with other people who wanted to break the fourth wall, the proverbial fourth wall, I had to learn on my own, and that was through music and movies and colors and art and books. So in that respect, I did. But I had mentors. You know, my brother-in-law, who was married to my sister when we moved to Atlanta, he was a mentor of mine, and I learned so much about how to conduct and express myself from him.
Next, Ru and I talk drag race and drag culture, and later get to know Ru better with a round of If You Only Knew. We'll be back. Welcome back to Larry King Now. I'm Michelle Visage, filling in for Larry. My guest is the one and only RuPaul. Hey! So you lent your voice to a new series on Hulu called The Bravest Night. So that was a voiceover thing.
I lent my voice, but I'm taking it back.
Well, of course.
Eventually.
You can only give it for so long.
Uh-huh.
Which is really cute because it's the first cartoon that kind of normalizes two dads for kids to see.
Really? The first?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been one with characters that were two same-sex couples.
What about two moms?
No, I don't think so.
The two uncles?
Possibly.
Kissing cousins.
Possibly gunkles, yes. But really what I want to talk about is AJ and the Queen. So
yes.
This is a new show we've talked about on the podcast, and it's so exciting. It's going to be on Netflix. Written by you and Michael Patrick King.
Who is a genius. And Michelle, I am so fortunate to be able to work with this man. He is so passionate, so smart.
Sex in the City.
Sex in the City.
Comeback.
The comeback, you know, Two Broke Girls.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I just felt so safe with him because I've never done anything so revealing because I play a human being. Usually I'm the gay neighbor who says, "Oh, girl, you need to wear that brooch with that blouse.
You're going to wear that with that?"
Exactly.
Right.
This is a fully rounded human being who has emotions, and I cry, I scream, I laugh, I get mad, I have love scenes, which is weird.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yes.
What was that like? For being a person of a certain age, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, ooh, are they going to see all that?
Well, you know, what's interesting is because Michael is there, Michael Patrick King, I felt so secure. He said, "Listen, I'm going to look after you. I'm going to take care of you. You're not going to look terrible at all." So I just went all in. It's a combination of Sullivan's Travels and Paper Moon, because it's me and this little girl.
Who is he?
Izzy G, who, Michelle, I've seen about 7 episodes of the show. That kid is a superstar.
Is she?
We couldn't have done the show without her. I'm in scenes with her, I'm doing all this stuff. It's not till I see her on camera on the thing where I go, oh my goodness, look what she's doing. Oh. She believes every word that comes out of her mouth. Every word.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like for you? Because you were nervous going into it.
I was really nervous going into it. I tell you, so many years of being in show business and protecting myself and making sure that I'm safe in places and shutting off certain emotions, just so you could power through it. This calls on me to show all of my emotions. And it's good to know that I still got it.
First of all, you were talking about all these things that your character does. You were in on writing it. So when you were writing it, were you like, oh, God? Or did you just kind of say, I'm just going to do this?
Yeah, I'm going to do this. We wanted to write something that was compelling and that was real and that the audience couldn't predict where it was going to go. So we thought, what's the most dangerous, advantageous place we can take this? And that's what we did.
And are you in drag, out of drag?
I'm both. I play Ruby Red, a down on her luck drag queen who who's going on a cross country tour, who finds an unlikely stowaway in this who I think is a little boy, but turns out to be a little girl. And we are on our way to Dallas, Texas, and we go from town to town. And sometimes I do 2 numbers in every episode.
Oh, so there's performances.
Oh,
in every
yeah,
episode.
music, and I lip sync. I have some original songs in there. It's everything. It is everything. And Michelle, it's so good.
RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, 23 Emmy nominations. You've won 9. First time ever, I said this before, you know, host and reality show. Why do you think, I know what I think, but I want to know, it's your show, why you think the show has become such a cultural force?
You know what I loved about the show Downton Abbey was that it sort of chronicled the change from the 19th century into the 20th century. And I think we're still in the midst of that transformation, that metamorphosis right now, where we're going from the 20th century concepts and ideas into the 21st century. And I think our show, Drag Race, has helped usher in a new voice, and a voice and a behavior and a language and an aesthetic for the 21st century human on this planet. I think young people intuitively, instinctively gravitate to our show because it is the voice of the 21st century and recreating a life for yourself. You know, when I talked about Interview magazine just a minute ago and going to the drugstore to read it so I could read about the Warhol superstars, those are people in those Warhol superstars who moved to New York, changed their name, dyed their hair, and created a life for themselves. Now I'm Viva, or now I'm Candy Darling, you know? And that's what our show is. Drag queens are shapeshifters who decide, you know what? I'm going to create my own reality. And I think that's why it connects with young people and people around the world.
Yeah, also for, you know, the young kind of hetero kids, these cisgender girls that don't fit in anywhere at school because they're weird or they're chubby or
they're super smart.
Yeah, or they're smart or they're funny. Nobody accepts them for who they are, so then they look at Drag Race and they go, oh, I'm like them.
Yeah.
And they love themselves.
Yes.
So I'm gonna love myself.
Yes, and those girls are super smart, and they're not buying the synthetic idea, packaged synthetic idea of femininity. They want to laugh at it, and drag allows those smart girls to have fun with it and to not take it seriously. Because, you know, a lot of those girls are expected to join in on this sort of conveyor belt of what society's idea of femininity is.
Right.
So for them to have fun with it, with drag queens, it makes complete sense.
And when you were pitching that show, people don't know that it took a lot longer than, you know, they just think, oh, Drag Race just came on the air on Logo and that was it. When you were pitching it, were there a lot of people who were like,
Well, you know, times are changing. You know, Obama was getting into office at that time. There was a shift universally, but we pitched it to about 5 different networks, and the Logo, the small Viacom network at that time, we pretty much knew in the room that they were going to pick it up. You know, so you know. But as with everything, I've been in show business professionally since 1982, and I do a lot of things. Some things stick, most things don't.
yeah, that's it. You often say it's the stick-with-itness.
Stick-with-itness, that's one of my favorite words. Is that a portmanteau?
I think so.
It's
or it's just a creation.
It's just a creation.
It's another bad creation.
Yeah, and I like sticking with it. I like being creative. If that didn't catch, it's Drag Race, I'd be doing something creative.
Of course, something else would be there. And Joan Rivers said,
save your fork.
so you can enjoy dessert.
That's right. Hold on to that fork.
Exactly. After the break, we are going to play a round of our fan favorite, If You Only Knew, with Ru. We'll find out his funniest fan encounter, biggest splurge, and proudest accomplishment. We'll be right back on this edition of Larry King Now. Welcome back to Larry King Now. I'm Michelle Visage, filling in for Larry. My guest today is RuPaul. Hey, girl, hey. Golden age of drag right now.
Yeah, right?
I mean, who would have thought?
Well, you know, everything sort of comes around. You know, you stick in the game long enough, your number comes up.
But really, if we're talking about the golden age of drag, so when I started and when I knew you back in the day, our New York City was a hub for drag. It wasn't good drag. It was fun drag. You know, good drag by the standards that these kids like. Rue, if these kids now had seen the way y'all were doing drag back then, like, it actually blows my mind.
Yeah, well, it was, you know, drag had always been political and antisocial and a social statement. It was like a big FU to society, especially for little gay boys who, you know, were expected to behave a certain way. It was a way to say, you know, you've told me not to be this way. Well, I'm going to be this way times 10.
Right.
You know.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
And I also love the fact that these kids take it so seriously. Sometimes a little bit too seriously. It's like,
sometimes,
it's not, because what's missing is the commentary of the social injustice and the FU to society. That's missing.
Yeah.
And it's become so much of a business now for some of these kids that we're missing that thing.
Yeah, and a lot of the kids are missing the fun of it. You know, they want to be perfect. It's not about being perfect.
There's no such thing.
No, it's about playing with all the colors in the crayon box, which is so important. That's the whole message. You know, drag really is saying, and drag's been around since the beginning of time. You know, there was Adam, Eve, and then there was LaShonda. You know.
I know her.
Yes.
She bit the apple and took the rib.
That's right.
Yes.
And see, and LaShonda was there to remind culture to not take itself so seriously. We are all God in drag. We are God experiencing humanity. And you are more than what it says you are on your driver's license. So drag is there to remind you to not take everything so effing seriously.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about politics, and speaking about that, let's talk about the dragoon that is running this country into war, into debt, into a hole.
I think we talked about the Downton Abbey thing and the sort of transformation from 20th century to 21st century. I think this is all a part of it. I think that, and when you talk about a transformation or a metamorphosis, that is a very violent exercise. When the caterpillar turns into a butterfly. We're experiencing that violence now, that tumultuous, So what we're witnessing, and he's a representation of this, is people with the old 20th century idea who cannot make that transition. So they're kicking up a fight. They won't win. Right. Now, they can make things really difficult for us. You know, he won on this idea that they were going to turn back the hands of time. Well, the only person to do that is Cher, okay? So, but that won't work. And you know, what you defend against actually persists. So, you know, he has a limited time.
Yes.
And
if we
it
get
ain't
out
gonna
and vote,
work.
we got to get out and vote.
We got to get out and vote. Start a war, maybe. It probably, you know, that's a very real possibility.
Oh yeah.
You know,
as days tick on, is the country doing enough to support queer LGBTQ rights, and what can allies do to do more to fight harder?
Well, you know. I believe that each individual has to find their own truth. If you are true to yourself, if you are a boss-ass bitch in your own life, to be able to deconstruct your own belief system and die to your old self and be reborn to your new self, that is enough. Each person owes it to our society, not just queer people, everyone, to become the best that you can be. And
Agreed.
Part of doing that is that transformation that we're talking about.
Yeah.
That metamorphosis from the cocoon to the butterfly.
Yeah.
And that's, not everybody can do that.
No, and the person running this country is a perfect example. If that happened, maybe something could move forward in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to shed the skin, admit you were wrong,
Yeah.
and it's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do.
And allow yourself to go through that violent transformation.
Yeah, so I think what everyone out there could do is look inside yourself. If you can you can't change the world, but you can change yourself.
Amen. Can I get an amen up in here?
All right, amen.
So we've got a fun segment here. It's rapid fire
I'll be the
questions.
judge of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a segment.
Okay.
And I'm going to say things really quickly, and you're just going to answer them.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
All right, here we go.
First car.
It was a Fiat. It was a 720 Fiat convertible. It was fabulous. 1974
It's a
Fiat.
nice
Yeah.
first car.
It was It was fabulous.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Childhood celebrity crush.
Peter Lupus from Mission Impossible.
I know why.
Yes.
Funniest, I don't know this about you, but the funniest or strangest fan encounter?
It would have to be Annette.
Oh, would it?
Because when Michelle and I were working at a radio
Rest in
station,
peace.
rest in peace, 23 years ago, we were working at this radio station. It was the first time a fan had my name tattooed on their body.
She did?
Yeah.
Right under the picture of Cher?
No, Cher's name was on the other leg.
Oh.
My name was on the other. That was the one. And her daughter Vanessa. Every time I come to New York, Vanessa is still waiting for me, and I take pictures with Vanessa all the time. Back then, Vanessa was 13 or 12, and her mother would take her to the places, and she'd always be waiting for me outside. I'd sign. It was lovely, and I still see Vanessa, and we take pictures and talk about Annette all the time.
Aw,
Yeah.
isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
She was a kind woman.
She was.
But she was a persistent woman.
But she was a super fan. She was my first super fan.
Huh.
Yeah.
Biggest splurge.
Well, I have 6 cars, which I'm not, I shouldn't say that out loud, especially in California.
You don't drive them all at the same time. Babe.
Well, I'd like to. But I've always wanted a 1968 280 SL Mercedes, so I have 2 of them. And then I have, I have 6 cars
so your
altogether.
biggest splurge is your cars.
Yes.
3 things you'd bring to a deserted island.
Oh, some type of music player, matches, and probably some clean water.
Oh,
probably.
matches are good. Start your fire.
Yes.
I love that. Most recent show you binged watched.
I'm watching Mission Impossible again on Amazon Prime, the old one from
The original
from 1966 to 1969. That's when Martin Landau and Barbara Bain were on it, because they were only on it for 3 years. And you know that she won an Emmy every one of those years, I guess, for Best Dramatic
Mission Impossible?
Yeah. Oh, God, it's so good,
Well,
Michelle.
she's so gorgeous.
Oh, my God, so gorgeous. I want to get her for our podcast.
Oh, I'd love it.
I think she's 87
I told
years
you I was
old.
obsessed with Space 1999.
Yes, and Peter Lupus is actually still alive, too. I'd like to
Let's just get the whole cast.
Let's get the whole cast.
Peter Graves
the
around?
2 of them, no, there's only 2 left. Yes.
Dang it. Proudest accomplishment, Rue?
Drag Race. It's Drag Race because through our show, we've been able to launch the careers of, at this point, is it 150 girls?
Yeah.
150 queens.
Released into the wild.
Released into the wild, terrorizing y'all's neighborhoods.
Okay, lock up your kids.
Lock up your kids, lock up your husbands, and those girls are making money. You're on the road with them all the time.
I am. And my daughters are able to go to college because of Drag Race.
Of Drag Race, and so that's what I'm most proud of, because these kids, they were local girls, but now they're launched and internationally known. You know?
So I know these answers, but people hearing them can never hear them enough, because there's so many important things you're going to say, like this next one. Best advice you've ever received?
Don't take life too effing seriously. And I learned that from my 10th grade teacher, Mr. Pinnell, who was only 10 years older than me.
Who was that, your Hollywood?
He was at my Hollywood Walk of Fame star. He was there. I'm still friends with him all these years later. I didn't understand it then, but oh boy, do I understand it now. There are things you should take seriously, like love and kindness.
And paying your taxes.
And paying your taxes. But all the other mishigas is just, like water off a duck's back. Don't take it too seriously.
I love that Mr. Pinnell told you that in 10th grade, and that was when you dropped out of school.
Yeah. Well, you know
You're
what?
like, oh, I'm not going to take it seriously.
You know what? I had already been to the 10th grade before, and when I met him, it was my second time in the 10th grade.
Because you didn't do
flunked.
Because you didn't do enough days.
I didn't do enough of anything.
Right.
And then I went on to the 11th grade, and that's when I dropped out.
Oh, okay. So like the beginning of 11th grade. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Something we should be paying more attention to.
Consciousness. I think the biggest threat to our civilization today is unconsciousness. You see people walking around like this.
Oh, it's frustrating.
It's important for you to be in your body and to be right here, right now. Right now is the only moment that ever exists.
Yesterday is done,
Yes.
and tomorrow doesn't exist.
That's right.
There is only now.
There's only now.
I love that.
Now, sissy that walk.
I'm going to sissy that teleprompter. In our final segment, RuPaul answers your questions from social media, so don't go away. Sissy. Welcome back to Larry King Now. I'm Michelle Visage, filling in for Larry. My guest today is the amazing, remarkable, one-of-a-kind RuPaul Charles. So we are going to end with some fan questions.
Okay.
Okay, these are always like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Thongnoy on Facebook says, how do you stay body positive?
When I wake up in the morning, I stretch, first thing I do. Then, while I'm down there, I'll pray. To who, to what, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, just as long as you do it. And then I meditate. And that is how I maintain a balance. And mind, spirit, body, all that stuff, that's how you stay fit.
Gina Loves Hugs on Twitter says, what's been your favorite acting experience?
Well, it would be AJ and the Queen, because I worked with a coach. I worked with Joan Rosenfeld, and of course Michael Patrick King was so beautiful. He made sure that I pushed it to the limit, and I just felt safe enough to do that. And there were times I have a scene with the kid where I'm in a field and I'm talking to her, telling her about her self-worth. Out of nowhere, I just start crying. I start crying because I was in it. It was so beautiful. I want to do more of that. More of that.
Dramatic.
It's dramatic. It's everything. It's funny. It's beautiful. It's inspiring. It's everything, this show. People are going to love it.
I've got this one from What's Up News. This is on Twitter, but I would love to know your thing, even though I know what I think you're going to say. Best Pride, New York or LA?
Well, I like New York Pride just because you're able to sort of get away from the crowd, and you're able to walk there and sort of escape from all the
Listen, LA Pride is great. It's
It's
definitely
great.
condensed.
Yeah.
But there's no pride in the world better than New York City Pride. I mean, I feel like it is technically
The whole city.
where it all started.
Yeah, absolutely.
It started because of Stonewall.
Yeah.
It started, and this being the 50th year, started in New York City. And there's, I always often, it's not even my experience, it's your experience.
Yeah.
But I often think of the story of you going down on the float with I Am What I Am playing.
Oh, God, yes.
And that moment.
Oh, my goodness, yeah, it's so beautiful. In fact, on Spotify, if you follow me on Spotify, I have a Pride playlist that has all of my favorite songs for Pride, like, We Are the Champions and Heroes by David Bowie, and, I Am What I Am, which is so beautiful. In fact, once I was in LA
Gloria
Pride.
Gaynor?
Gloria Gaynor's version, yeah. Once I was in LA Pride, I think this was '94. I may have been the Grand Marshal. The memory goes.
It's all right.
And they played one of my songs called Free to Be. And it talks about free to be who you want, free to love who you need.
Yes.
And they were playing it, and this guy, I was on the float, and this guy was looking up at me going, yes, yes, yes. And I looked over at him, and uncontrollably, my bottom lip started trembling, and I just busted out crying. Because it all came together. Everything came together. It was like, oh my goodness, so overcome. Sort of like what I felt in
New York.
in New York and in AJ and the Queen, where all of a sudden I'm a Scorpio and I try to control everything. It was uncontrollable. And it was like an AJ and the Queen where it had taken over. And I love that feeling. I love that.
I am firsthand so proud of everything that you've done, that you're doing. I always have been. I've been there from the beginning, and I've watched every step of it. And thankfully and graciously and gratefully, I'm with you every step of the way, more or less.
You always will be.
And I love you so much. And I'm so honored that I get to experience this with you. It might sound selfish, but I feel like I'm your other half. So we've got your husband, George, I got my husband, David, and we've got each other. And I'm so honored and just so madly in love with you. And I can't wait for everything else that you're going to do.
I love you, Michelle. You are so talented and such a great friend. You really are.
Oh, I love you.
I'll do anything for you.
And I'll do anything for you, kid. Always. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. And make sure that you check out my friend's daytime talk show called RuPaul on Fox and watch the groundbreaking The Bravest Night, currently streaming on Hulu. Also, RuPaul's Drag Race UK is coming later this year. We can't wait. Thank you so much to Larry for having me come in today and interview my dear, dear friend. See you next time, guys. Bye.